Hello and welcome. This is Borderless live on LinkedIn, and this is Ask Us Anything Thursday. This is our weekly glance at executive life and international business. My name is Kris. So let's get on with it. But before I do, please remember to ask your questions in the chat box or go to LinkedIn, ask them there. We'll pick it up and happy to answer them for you. I want initially to give you some insight into what happens when 150 or so executive search consultants get in one room, as we did this week in London at the annual conference for members of the Association of Executive Search Consultants, AESC. This is a professional association that regulates standards and codes of practice, admitting only the top global executive search and leadership consulting firms. They're household names that you'll know well, people like Spencer Stuart, Russell Reynolds, Hydrogen Struggles, and of course, Borderless. First of our topics, actually, the whole theme in reality was around the sustainable economy, how to sustain growth, and in particular, what's the role of firms like ours to support these activities that all our clients throughout industry. I think it's very, very clear that leaders and leadership advisors and executive search people must come together to ensure that the right talent, culture, and strategy is aligned for the future and for the value creation that each of our clients seeks. The new sustainable economy is very clearly changing the scene. It's creating an increase in demand for specific types of talent and is causing many businesses to reframe their strategies. So let's talk a little bit about that for a second. It's obvious that firms like ours need to understand your issues as clients because they're also our issues. And how do we translate these from a talent strategy into helping your business? We have a role to play there, and we realize that we have a true responsibility in the kinds of people that we bring to your organizations, people who are going to stimulate your thinking, but also carry with them the values that are going to build the sustainable solution you need in your business. We're going to do that in two ways, and we're already doing it, by the way. First, by encouraging our clients to really demonstrate ESG behaviors in their business. It's not only because it's good for your business, of course, but it's also because it's necessary to attract candidates that are truly committed and already thinking along the lines that are absolutely necessary to have a sustainable future. It doesn't just have to be Gen Zers, by the way. We recently had a terrific executive who decided not to join one end of the chemical industry, but rather went to a battery producer simply because he was getting closer, in this case, to a more sustainable way of thinking. And his attitudes and his behaviors in terms of sustainability were better met in a battery producer. So not a Gen Z guy, but definitely when we see and we talk to Gen Z, they're demanding that companies demonstrate to them that they are having the right behaviors, right attitudes, or at least are striving to do so. It's very, very interesting how this whole topic is very much at the top of board agendas. And of course, with the current situation in the world and with a turn down possible for a number of industries as we go into a potentially recessionary period over the next quarters, it's a subject that cynicists are saying, well, we'll forget all about this sustainability and ESG because we've got other things to worry about, like our economic future. Wrong answer. Absolutely the wrong answer. The right answer is, what do we need to do in our business to use this particular difficult period to really build something that's going to be sustainable for our future? And that may mean attending to some of the basic ways we do business. And our responsibility in executive search is to help you find the right kind of people to bring into your organizations who can help you with that. For some industries, sustainability is an existential issue. It is for the chemical industry, has been for some time, but for a number of other industries, it's not a matter of whether we should or not. It's existential problems. So one other thing which will help, I think, many of the people that are going to be listening to this particular podcast, they're looking at, what do we need to do as potential candidates for roles within corporations or within any organization? What will help us in terms of getting the job? And one of those things that will really play a part is your attitude to sustainability. Not only attitude and what you say, but what you've done and what you're currently doing and where your thinking is going. And I need to tell you that this is very much becoming a component of all of our interviews. There are clients who are simply refusing to bring in people that do not have the right attributes from an ESG perspective to live and develop a career within their organizations. And finally, it's also important in our own thinking what we do within our own firm. Well, I can tell you in Borderless, we have an EcoVadis certification. EcoVadis is one of the prime organizations that is helping to confirm and to validate companies that are truly having a substantial activities in sustainability and can demonstrate that they're making the right moves to become sustainable organizations or to improve the level of sustainability. We're moving this year onto our silver status. That's our aim this year. And I can tell you we're one of the few search firms in the world that actually already have some form of certification. It's nice to see, though, that some of the largest firms, people like Russell Reynolds, I heard from this week, who not only have a consultant, a partner, who is looking for people who are going to be working on sustainability issues, but also have appointed internally director for sustainability, trying to change the diehards within their own business to help become a more sustainable organization in their own right. So good positive moves. I applaud our competitors for catching up with Borderless. So that's it on that particular topic on sustainability, core for our business. But I want to spend a few moments too on another topic, which is ESG. Rolls off the tongue these days. Some people still struggle to think what it's about. It's environmental, social, and governance. And this is becoming clearly a critical issue, not only within the companies, but to attract ESG-oriented finance. So people are going to be investing in your business. ESG becomes a really critical issue to attract the right quality of finance. There are many firms, including some of the leading private equity firms, that have sustainability funds that will only invest in ESG biased, ESG-oriented organizations. Companies that are ESG, operate to ESG standards, they agree to conduct themselves ethically in these areas and can draw on a whole range of ESG strategies and tactics to do so. But with such a large range of possible approaches, there are many things that fall under this umbrella. And one of those, and is something we've talked about for some time, clearly has a major role to play. That's another acronym, DE&I, in other words, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Some people say, can we forget about DEI because now we're focusing on ESG, on sustainability? No, this is a critical component, guys. And in fact, it was a subject of one of the discussions we had, which was with a wonderful woman called Annalisa Jenkins. Some of you may have come across Annalisa. She's a hugely experienced person. She's a director, a board member in a number of biotech. She's an innovator in her own right, an executive and non-executive chairman, and a non-executive director. And by the way, is a medic. She's a cardiologist with her own innovations to her name. Annalisa related a story just recently with a board member in one of the companies in which she serves, asking why we still need to talk about DEI when you're a board member. You're on our board, but she is only one woman on this whole board. And most recently, she had an email which said one of the directors had met this chap somewhere and has decided that he'd like to appoint him as a non-executive board member. What does she think? She asked the question, what's wrong with that whole question? Chap? Does it have to be a chap? Do we want more chaps? Do we want a diverse board? How about board composition? How does your board look? Is it diverse in thought, in assessment of capabilities? What does a fit look like culturally? It's not just about women, it's every aspect of diversity. So 20 years on, Annalise is disappointed to know that she's still having to ask this damn question, as are many, many others. The only positive aspect I could find looking around this room is that 10 years ago, an AESC event, the association event that we went to, was a room with 100 people who could best be described, to use other people's term, pale, male, and stale. Today, at this informal count of around 160 people, 76 women, 68 men in senior roles within the executive search so-called profession. So with that comes an evident commitment from the search world to change the way that the search world operates. And that will have a substantial influence to a disproportionate degree in board level hires. We understand this is important. We can do something about it in our own business. Borderless is, as you may know, a woman-owned, women-led firm of 20 people. We have 15 women and 20 people. It's a team that's from 15 countries, 5 ethnicities, and we speak more than 20 languages. We're doing our bit not only to talk about this in theory, but make it a practice. In fact, this comes about not by some odd accident. We understand that diversity means better business and positions us in a much better way to advise our clients on ESG, on sustainability, and D&EI matters. That's, of course, shows through. In the last quarter, more than 50% of the executives hired by our clients are a diverse group of people, mostly at least 50% women, from an incredible spread of cultures, ethnicities, and experiences. So enough promoting Borderless, but above all, making sure that DEI is not something you do in your spare time. It has to be culturally integrated, as does the broader question of sustainability in your business as well as in ours. Topic number 3 came from a very, very interesting man called Garrett Leonhardt. Those of you who keep an eye on those things will see his name quite frequently. He's a German currently living in Zurich. He describes himself as a futurist and a humanist, a truly captivating speaker and author who specializes in the debate between humanity and technology. Well, his keynote was around the next 10 years and how and why can we be optimistic about the future? What does it mean for leaders? What does it mean for leadership? And what does it mean for executive search professionals? If you share our forward-looking perspective, and if you agree with the view that the future is not what it used to be, and there's no way of going back to what we used to call normal, then you'll enjoy his books and his videos. They're all across YouTube. I really commend you to take some time and find him and take a look. Again, his name is Garrett, G-E-R-D, Leonhardt, L-E-O-N-H-A-R-T. So if you can't find him, or if you want to know where it is precisely, send me a message and I'll be pleased to share his presentation with you from this AESC event. It was truly stimulating. Look him up on Amazon, YouTube, or just send me a message to Borderless. So that's kind of my pickings from the week, and they're really at the top of it. We have a couple of questions here, by the way, that came up in the meantime. One of those was, do you believe it's a company's responsibility to show transparency around DEI? And if so, how? So when you show images of your business, and I don't mean the ones you take off Getty Images or somewhere else, but images of people in your company, do they feature? How does it look? How does the balance look in your business? Are you in a 50-50 situation? And at what level are you 50-50? Yes, we have 50% women, and most of them are doing administrative support work. That's not the answer. What about your executive talent? Where are women in your executive talent? How broad a range of ethnicities, how broad a range of thinking is within those? What's about cultural differences? How do you address those? So first of all, if I'm a candidate and I want to look and move into a company that really addresses this issue, I'll be looking at that. What's in your language or way you express yourself? All those kind of things are really critical. And is it your company responsibility to show transparency? Well, not if you don't want to attract the best people, of course not. But if you do, then you'll be making sure that that is highly visible in your organization, not only by what you say, not in your value statement, your value mission, and whatever the hell people call it. I personally am not a believer in posting those on the office wall. I'm a believer in showing what you're doing. Actually get things done which demonstrate really good DEI practices. Okay? So if you want to ask how those are done, happy to have a conversation on that anytime. Is it the company's responsibility? Yes, it is. Absolutely. So I've got another one here. What does this say? Should executives choose a company that matches their ethics or work to change a company that matches theirs? Well, of course, the answer is yes. Okay, there's no or. However, it's interesting to note, when you're thinking about it, if you would go back a few years, how easy was it, would you necessarily apply for a senior job in a tobacco company? Pariahs of the industry, right? Did you want to get into tobacco? Well, maybe if you hold values that differ from there, you maybe didn't want to do that. Do you want to change the tobacco company to use that wealth to create something different that's more sustainable and better for society? Well, if that's what you want to do, go and do it. The only problem is that it's very, very difficult to do it from the bottom of an organization. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try, but really this needs to be done from the top. So if you really want to change a company to bring along a very different set of values, start at the top. Oddly enough, my old alma mater, Dow Chemical, did this a little while ago. They have a fantastic CEO who lives and breathes diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, next step. How can a company attract talent to impact positive change towards a more robust ESG point of view? I'm afraid it's the same answer. Make sure that you are visibly committed. And I don't mean committed in what you write, committed in what you do. Be able to demonstrate everything that you do, everything you say. By the way, I also believe that this whole ESG subject is not something that you should just be talking about. You should be able to feel it within a company. Some very, very simple stuff. It goes back just like you would about hygiene and safety and so on. It's up and plastered everywhere. We're a safe company. We've had so many accidents or have no accidents for the last million working hours and so on. But how do you actually behave when you get in the car? How do you put your seatbelt on? These are very simple ways of demonstrating safety thinking. Apply the same principles to how you're thinking about ESG. The principles are there to apply. So happy to talk about those in detail as well, if any time we have an opportunity to meet up. So that's it for now. I think that unless you have any other questions, you can also put them in the little box. Be more than happy to answer them. I don't see any more coming up there for the time being. Let's see. No, that's it for the time being, I think, guys. I've got 3 active questions, and I think I responded to them as best as I've been able to in the short time available to us. So with that, I'm going to say thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, too, for those that are going to be listening to this a little bit later on offline. And look forward to seeing you again next Thursday for Borderless Executive Live. Take care and see you next Thursday, 4 p.m. Bye-bye.